Well, tonight we saw the newest in the Expend4bles franchise, a true passing of the torch onto the next generation of stars, Expend4bles.
Yep.
Connor, what's the plot of Expend4bles?
Expend4bles is the fourth movie in the Expend4bles franchise. Pretty much all the old people have quit the franchise or died or got dementia or whatever. So they're all gone. Except Sylvester Stallone is still kicking enough that he was able to make a movie. So Sylvester Stallone loses his ring in a thumb war, and that's kind of pointless. But then they, for some reason, are sent on a mission to Libya with no explanation really, other than they're going to Libya. And then Sylvester Stallone blows up, and Jason Statham's kicked off the team. And then Megan Fox is in charge, and she goes on the mission with the team of mercenaries, including Dolph Lundgren and 50 Cent and a couple other nameless actors. This one doesn't really rely on star power as the gimmick like the last three. I mean, it does to an extent, but it's just random famous-ish people.
Random washed-up people.
Yeah, man. I mean, before it was like washed up with a legacy. This one's like Megan Fox and 50 Cent. And I'm not saying 50 Cent doesn't have a legacy, but he doesn't have a lasting film legacy. Megan Fox is famous as that bitch from Transformers who was bad at acting, but she was hot, so they put her in the movies. Yeah, but I mean, she got that role as a result of Transformers. Her lasting legacy is playing Megan Fox in Transformers. They go to that turns out there's this guy that Sylvester Stallone's been tracking for years or something, and Sylvester Stallone blowed up, like I said, and then Barney is his character's name, and then Jason Statham as Christmas follows the Expend4bles after he fails as a bodyguard for a social media guy who's insulting women, and Jason Statham loves women. And then they go to a boat, and they are on a boat for an hour and a half of this hour and 45-minute movie.
Yeah, CGI.
And yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about this one. Oh, and then Sylvester Stallone faked his death. So Aiden, what did you think of Expend4bles?
It's a grade A stinker. This one is.
This one's bad.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything is wrong with this movie. And at first, when it started, there was a couple moments that were so hilariously bad that I was like, oh, we might be in for a good time. But it's
Might
actually,
be in for the
just
coveted
sucks.
cringe kino.
It just sucks.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's go over some things. The whole premise of the franchise was that it was a last hurrah for a bunch of 80s action stars. And now it's just whatever 5 random people were desperate enough to show up. The movie is hideous and has asylum tier CGI everywhere, and everything just has bad green screen backgrounds. And sometimes it's very funny, especially in the desert scenes. But then most of the movie just takes place on like a boat, and they're on a boat, and they walk around this dark boat that looks like a soundstage. But they might have used like an actual decommissioned boat, and it has a CGI background. The villain's plot, I don't really get it. He steals the nuke things, and then he puts a nuke on a boat that he's on, and then he throws away the kill switch. And then instead of just leaving, he says, okay guys, go kill the Expend4bles, and I'm gonna stay right here. And he's like the boss of the Expend4bles, I guess. I don't know if he was in the other movies, but he's in this one, and he's the evil guy. But I don't really, like, his plan is to start World War III so he can make money selling weapons. But then he stays on the boat until there's like 2 minutes left and rolls out a tiny inflatable life raft and says, okay, I'm gonna escape the nuclear bomb like this, and then Sylvester Stallone comes in a helicopter and shoots him to death with a helicopter. Even though earlier in the movie, Sylvester Stallone gets turned into a cartoon skeleton, like a Looney Tunes cartoon, but like obviously that was just a dumb fake out. Everyone sucks in this movie. Everyone's horrible. I mean, Jason Statham's kind of just doing his bit.
Yeah, Jason Statham puts in the Jason Statham bit. I mean, Jason Statham
And everyone
is
else.
Jason Statham in every movie, and he's an adequate actor.
Yep.
Like he acts. Jason Statham's not winning Best Actor awards, but as an action star, he does his thing.
He does his bit.
Everyone
and he
else
does it well
sucks.
enough, and everyone else is horrible. The squeaky voice guy with the weird ear. I don't know if that was someone famous.
I think he must have been in the other movies or something.
That guy got all the funny lines in this movie, like when he was like, "Heads up, fellas."
Oh, Sylvester Stallone and Jason Statham had plenty of cringe put in there that made me laugh hysterically.
Yeah, there's a couple really good cringe moments, but not enough. 50 Cent horrible, Megan Fox horrible. The sound mixing throughout the movie's horrible. They didn't go back for ADR and anything, and some of these scenes are like
Yeah, there's like 3 scenes
shot in the
that sound
basement
like.
of a fucking like the fucking tanker.
Well, like there's 3 scenes in particular that sound like the boom mic went out or something, and they just filmed it like a native camera audio.
It's like
But then they tried to mix the background like a dramatic movie with like these really loud and dramatic gun sound effects. So you're like, what the fuck are they saying? It sounds like they're talking into tin cans.
Yeah, it's all
And what's extra
activated.
jarring is it's not like the audio is consistently bad. It'll sound normal, cut to shitty dialogue, cut to shitty audio for a scene, and then cut back to a scene where the audio is perfectly fine.
Yeah, basically the whole movie is kind of just like, oh, we own the rights to the Expend4bles, and that's kind of a recognizable thing, but all the old people are too old or dead or don't want to do this anymore. Except Sylvester Stallone, who'll do fucking anything. And so Sylvester Stallone's in it for 10 minutes before he gets turned into a cartoon skeleton and then comes back at the end to save everyone. And then it's just this random pathetic group of pathetic people who don't have a career to do anything else except Jason Statham, who was like the big draw, I guess.
I mean, what is Sylvester Stallone but a producer who will cameo in his films these days?
That's true. That
His
is
last
true.
big role was Rambo Last Blood, and everything else has been like Creed, where he shows up intermittently for a couple minutes at a time. And this movie, where he shows up, dies for 3/4 of the movie, and then comes back in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, that's been his gimmick for a while. I don't know, man. It's an asylum movie with a it's an asylum movie that could afford to get people whose names you would recognize, but also people who, like, you would recognize their names, but you'd be like, man, I haven't seen a Megan Fox movie in 11 years.
Well, what this feels like is, before it was like A-list movie stars from the 80s, and now it's just a bunch of people they scraped out from DTV.
Yep.
DTV land, and decided to throw into a movie.
Yep. And 50 Cent, so that they could use his song in one scene. Or
Yes,
something.
they
I don't
do
know.
have a scene where 50 Cent's song plays
Which
in
implies
a
some
movie where
weird
50
shit.
Cent's a character. So it's 50 Cent, and the radio gets shot, so, and the music dramatically like stops. So the question is, does 50 Cent exist and just has a doppelganger who's like a mercenary assassin that works with Sylvester Stallone? Or, I mean, the
50 Cent.
character is not 50 Cent. He has his own name and identity and stuff, so this isn't 50 Cent. Is 50 Cent a different person in
Maybe
this
it's
universe?
50 Cent's identical twin. 50 Cent Jackson.
50 Cent Jackson.
51 Cent.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a fucking stinker. Anyway, Connor, what'd you think of Expend4bles?
Yeah, I thought a lot of it was garbage. Megan Fox's line reads were bad. If you just stared at any actor, they didn't know what to do when they weren't speaking. Like Megan Fox would, like, there's a couple lines where you can tell what it was written and what they said and what the writer was thinking in their head when they wrote it, and then it'll be like it doesn't come off that way. The Sylvester Stallone twist was so obvious and callable. You're not gonna blow Sylvester Stallone up in his own franchise and make him a fucking skeleton. Now, if he died in the heat of battle in the last 2 minutes of this movie, so he didn't have to show up for the sequels, that I might have bought. But you don't kill Sylvester Stallone off 15 minutes in and eviscerate him into a skeleton. You see, and Jason Statham says, "There's no way he's coming back from this one," and then he does. That is such a that's such a like a geezer teaser move. Yeah. And I mean, the movie knows it's stupid, which is fine.
It's not,
but they're not embracing it like Furious 7. I think it's perfectly self-aware. I just think it's self-aware that it's terrible, but it's also totally incompetently made, like the audio issues, which just pull you out of the movie. And we watched this in the AMC Prime, which is like a premium theater. And thankfully we have the A-list, so we didn't pay extra. It was just part of our subscription, so whatever. But if I was like to pay like down near $20 a ticket just to sit there, and they couldn't be fucked to fix blatant audio mistakes, like they couldn't be fucked to pay Jason Statham like whatever $10,000 to come back and do ADR for a couple scenes. How is that not written into his contract that he has to do like a couple months of post-production?
I think they
must have just forgot to put that in all the contracts, or they had a clause that said we don't have to do anything. We're going to film this movie for a week, and then we never have to look at it again.
I think the most egregious scene of like a character who's not speaking, not doing anything, is when the little kid gets shot at the start.
Oh, that was awful. I almost forgot about that.
The main villain comes in and like
murders a child.
He kills this dictator guy, or like he kidnaps this dictator guy and says, "Give me your nukes."
And the kids keep like peeking at the count.
The guy beats the mom to death, and the mom is laying there dead, and the little boy's just standing there stoically, like glancing at the camera, looking for direction before he gets shot.
And then he's not crying, he's not trembling, he doesn't look scared. Like this guy in front of you is saying, "I'm gonna fucking kill this kid." The kid should be scared.
Out, your mom's dead, I'm going to shoot you.
If there was any emotional connection, even if the kid was acting bad and hammy, like at least the kid is doing something. How was this fucking kid picked? I guess they just plucked an extra. They just said, "We need a 10-year-old."
They said, "We need an Iranian-looking 10-year-old," and only one applied.
It must have been something like that. It was embarrassing. That was an embarrassing scene, along with the rest of this movie. Yeah. There's a lot of stupid shit. I don't know. It was garbage. It was really fucking terrible, genuinely. Another terrible half-star movie. This year has a lot of like super stinkers.
It does.
Like it's a legendary year for super stinkers. There's been some decent stuff. And I've been calling 2023 a decent year since like June, but I think it's starting to really take a turn. Because the super stinkers are starting to take up the year. The most memorable things: Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, Sweetwater, this, fucking Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumanium. There's so many A-tier stinkers, and it sucks. So Aiden, would you recommend Expend4bles?
No. Expend4bles 4 is going to be free on Tubi in like a month and a half.
Should have been a Tubi original.
It feels like a Tubi original. It's bad. It's a fucking Mondo stinker in a year of Mondo stinkers. Connor, would you recommend Expend4bles?
No, I would not. It was terrible. It's awful. I was hoping for some cringe Kino. That isn't what we got. It wasn't there. It failed to.
It started strong, man.
It started strong. The first 10 minutes promised cringe Kino, but
shrugs. That was a good reaction.
The first 15 minutes promised a lot of cringe Kino, but the energy wasn't there. They weren't able to maintain the cringe Kino energy like Furious 7. So.